Real leadership, real lives, a new approach to ending the need for food banks.
We want to talk about something that affects more people in our communities than you might think: food banks. Last year, Trussell Trust food banks across the UK handed out over 3.1 million emergency food parcels. That's the highest number ever recorded. Even more heartbreaking, over 655,000 people used a food bank for the first time. And more than 1.1 million parcels went to children. These aren't just numbers, they're families, friends, neighbours, right here in our communities.
According to the Trussell Trust, over 262,000 emergency food parcels were handed out across Scotland last year, and nearly 60% of those were for families with children. Here in North Lanarkshire, the situation is just as serious. The local Child Poverty Action Report shows that 31% of children in Motherwell and Wishaw are growing up in poverty. In Airdrie and Shotts, it's 30.9%. That's over 20,000 children in our area who are going without. The Scottish Government's Cash First plan recognises that to tackle hunger, we need to tackle the deeper issue: income insecurity. Because in a community like ours, we should all share one goal: that no one is without food.
This isn't just about being hungry. It's about wages that don't stretch far enough. It's about benefits that are delayed and bills that keep rising. And some families are being hit harder than others. According to Trussell Trust's 2023-24 data, food bank use among families with 3 or more children has increased by 28% since 2018. But they're not alone. Lone parent families and families with disabled members are also more likely to need food support. Minority ethnic families are disproportionately affected. And people on universal credit are among the hardest hit. This is what it looks like when systems break down.
In North Lanarkshire, food banks are doing more than handing out emergency food. We are seeing a different kind of leadership, one that's strategic, coordinated, and focused on long-term support. Food banks here work alongside other services to help people move forward, not just survive the week. A great example of this is the Food Referral Gateway. Instead of just giving out parcels, it connects people to money advice, benefits, and crisis grants. In one case, a woman discovered she was owed over £10,000 in unpaid support. That's leadership that changes lives. This approach reflects a powerful blend of leadership styles. Transformational leadership helped bring the Gateway to life, with a vision to break dependency cycles and build sustainable change. Servant leadership shows up every day in how welfare rights officers sit down with people, listen to their stories, and walk with them through the next steps. And it works. 87% of people supported this way no longer need emergency food. Ethical leadership underpins it all. Local leaders make decisions with fairness and dignity at the heart, from refusing poor quality food to promoting human rights and following the Scottish Government's Cash First model, where financial help comes first, not food parcels.
To understand what leadership looks like on the ground, we visited Maranatha Food Bank in Motherwell. We asked the manager to reflect on how leadership shapes their response to increasing community need.
My name's Andrew Ewart. I am the Motherwell Food Bank Coordinator at the Maranatha Centre. The cost of living crisis has played a big part in that, and up to now we are managing to cope with it. We get donations, food donations handed in by people, but we also get financial donations which are vital to keeping the food bank running. We've got 2 or 3 very generous people who really keep our head above water.
What are the biggest challenges you face in leading this service, and how do you overcome them?
Probably the biggest challenge is financing it. I look at it as a small business, and we get maybe 50% of the food that we hand out donated to us, but raising the money to buy the rest of the food, which is mainly tins and packets that we buy and hand out, is the hardest thing. We apply for grants through the council, Scottish Government, various other charity organisations that hand out money, but actually getting money to buy food is very difficult. The other difficulties are dealing, first of all, with the volunteers. We have about 25 volunteers help each week, and you always end up getting people contacting you the night before and saying, "Oh, I can't manage," or "I'm not feeling well," all these sort of things. So it's just make sure that we have enough staff to run the place properly, and the clients they're either very nice or they can be difficult.
The next question, how would you describe your leadership style when managing the food bank and people in general?
I would say that I am fairly passive. I like talking to people a lot, especially the volunteers. I found that it's a bit different. I used to run a dental practice, and we had about 15 of our staff, and they worked for us, and you could tell them what to do, and you expected them just to do it, and that was it. But I was always seen as probably the soft touch out of the partners. I was the one that people would come to and to get permission to do things. And I wouldn't say I'm actually that soft, but I would deal with it in a polite and non-confrontational manner. As I said earlier, I don't believe in shouting. I don't think I ever shouted at my work when I was a dentist, and I've never shouted at any of the volunteers in here or anything like that. Volunteers here are wonderful. I should say they're really dedicated. They know what they're doing, and most of the time I don't need to tell them what to do. Everybody has their own sort of niche that they run by. But any problems, they come and ask me, and I spend most of the morning answering questions and just guiding people as to what to do. But I think that being friendly with people is a great way of managing them, and you don't have to, you're not their pal, although I would say some of these people I would consider as friends now, but I would say that you need to have a slight line between the managers and the staff. Don't blame people. You don't go in, if there's a problem, solve the problem first, and then you can deal with what caused the problem later. You don't need to blame somebody straight away. It's more important to get the problem solved and move on, and then you can quietly deal with what happened.
Last question, please, Andrew. Have you introduced any creative or long-term solutions to reduce the dependency on the food bank?
Yes, we, partly from a financial point of view, from our point, we had to introduce that you could only come, the clients could only come once a month, but they can come more than that if they get referred. If they're in real need, and they need to come back again, they go to Citizens Advice Bureau, Scottish Welfare Fund, any organisation, social workers, anybody they deal with, and they can get referred, and they can come a second, third, fourth time. We've partly done this also, though, to make sure that these people are interacting with other services. We're a service that deals with food, but a lot of these people have very confused lives, and they need guidance from other organisations, and we're not trained to do that. So having to interact with other organisations, I feel, is a very important thing. And I've been advised that 30% of the people that deal with the Citizens Advice Bureau end up getting more benefits than they're actually on. There's a whole load of people who aren't getting their full benefits. So if they get some more money, hopefully it means they can survive without having to come and see us, so it reduces our volume.
This insight highlights how leadership decisions, whether strategic or compassionate, play out daily in food banks. It sets the stage for understanding the theory behind this impact.
In shaping our leadership response to food insecurity, we made a conscious decision not to base our approach on transactional leadership. Transactional leadership is focused on performance, control, and reward. You do this, you get that. While this may work in structured environments like business or the military, it's ill-suited for complex, emotionally driven community issues like food poverty. It doesn't ask why people are struggling, only how to manage them once they do. Situational leadership also didn't feel right for this context. While it's flexible and practical, it lacks a moral framework. It's about adapting to what's needed, but in crises like this, the question isn't just what works, it's what's right. That's something situational leadership doesn't always answer well. Instead, we chose a leadership blend that does ask that question. Transformational leadership for vision and long-term change. Servant leadership to ensure people come first. And ethical leadership to keep fairness, dignity, and human rights at the center of every decision. These styles don't just manage, they inspire, protect, and empower. That's what communities in crisis need.
At Maranatha Community Food Bank, they spoke honestly about how leadership shapes everything they do, not just policies and plans, but how they show up for the community. At Maranatha, you can see 3 leadership theories in action, each one playing a role in how the food bank supports people. Transformational leadership has helped reshape the food bank's role, not just providing emergency aid, but driving system change and building cross-agency collaboration. Servant leadership is felt in every conversation with a volunteer or client, grounded in empathy, humility, and a shared sense of purpose. Ethical leadership ensures that every decision, who to help, how, and when, is made with integrity and fairness. But no model is perfect. Transformational leadership can lead to burnout if the vision moves faster than the resources. Servant leadership is powerful, but it can be hard to scale without clear structures. And ethical leadership relies on shared values, which aren't always easy to align in complex systems. That's why real leadership needs to be flexible, critical, and constantly evolving.
Food banks will always be there to support people in crisis, and in communities like North Lanarkshire, they do vital, life-saving work. But let's be clear, food banks are not the long-term solution. The truth is, no one should be left without food. But also, no one should be left without money, dignity, or choice. To build a fairer society, we need leadership that inspires people, serves communities, and does what's right, not just what's easy. Scotland is showing leadership, but the need goes beyond any one nation. This is a UK-wide crisis, and it demands bold action.
We already know what a better approach looks like, and we're seeing it right here in North Lanarkshire. In 2023, the Scottish Government published the Cash First plan towards ending the need for food banks. As part of this, North Lanarkshire successfully secured funding to launch the Cash First project, one of only 8 partnerships selected across Scotland. The project tackles food poverty differently. Instead of relying on food parcels alone, the Food Poverty Gateway now offers emergency cash payments, paired with access to advice, benefits, and income maximization support. People in crisis no longer have to wait 48 hours for a decision on a grant. This is a dignified, efficient, and human response to poverty, one built on leadership that's transformational, servant-minded, and ethically grounded. Backed by local partners like NHS Lanarkshire, Citizens Advice, Voluntary Action North Lanarkshire, and community food networks, the project proves that with the right support in place, we can reduce the need for food banks, and eventually end it altogether. But to scale this nationally, we need political leaders to step up, to invest in what's working, to lead with empathy, and to ensure that everyone in the UK has enough to live, not just enough to survive.